You were programmed to wait, work hard, save, endure. One day, they said, you'll finally be free. That day has a name, retirement. But what if that promise is the greatest emotional trap of our time? What if the freedom you dream of is just an illusion designed to keep you docile today? What if retirement isn't a reward, but a delayed prison? We're raised to live in anticipation. Youth is sacrifice. Adulthood is accumulation. Old age is supposed to be the reward. But this equation carries a poison. The present is constantly sacrificed for a future that may never arrive. And even if it does, who will you be when it finally comes? A tired body, maybe sick, maybe lonely, staring at the ocean and whispering, "Was this it?" The image is seductive. A silver-haired man, wine in hand, peace in his eyes, facing the sea. Financial marketing sold you this as paradise. But no one showed you the inner collapse, the quiet depression, the identity crisis that erupts when the work stops, and you realize you never truly lived. The ideal of a happy retirement is a toxic myth, designed to convince you that deferring your life is noble. And why now? Because we're collapsing before we even get there. Burnout at 30, existential crisis at 40, spiritual numbness at 50. The truth is, the system doesn't want you free, it wants you waiting. And I say this as someone who believed the myth, who poured meaning into someday, and almost lost the only thing that's real, now. This isn't a video about financial planning. It's a call to existential awakening. Because life isn't a reward you earn at the end. It's a brutal urgency that begins the moment you stop postponing your soul. You were raised to believe that pain now means peace later, that discipline is always noble, that you should endure, comply, and accumulate. Because one day, when you retire, everything will make sense. It's the narrative that shaped your parents, and probably theirs too. They sacrificed joy for security, passion for routine, presence for a future promise. But here's the truth no one told you. Retirement doesn't heal the soul. Because the soul doesn't wait. It decays when postponed. Why doesn't retirement fix the emptiness? Because the emptiness was never about money. It's spiritual. It's symbolic. You can have stability, comfort, free time, and still feel nothing. Because you spent decades abandoning yourself, trading dreams for structure, choosing survival over meaning. And when the work stops, what's left isn't peace. It's the echo of everything you suppressed. The success narrative conditioned you to believe that fulfillment is about accumulation, wealth, titles, assets. But what's accumulated without presence becomes a burden. What's postponed becomes irrelevant. For many, retirement isn't the start of a full life. It's the collapse of a life that never learned how to live. Daniel Kahneman warned us, our minds overvalue the future and neglect the now. And that's how we die, full of plans, starved of purpose. Retirement doesn't fix the void because it can't return stolen time. It doesn't reclaim the silences you swallowed, the risks you never took, the passions you left buried. The promise of peaceful old age disintegrates when you realize this. What you silenced in the name of security won't be healed by freedom. It will only be healed by presence, and presence can't be postponed. There's a kind of death that happens long before the body gives out, a symbolic death, slow, silent, invisible. It begins when you trade your truth for roles, your voice for obedience, your soul for survival. Society didn't teach you to live, it trained you to function. And when your entire identity is built on what you do, who are you when that doing stops? Carl Jung warned us, the greatest danger is to lose your soul while becoming a successful someone. Retirement doesn't cure the emptiness, it exposes it. It's when the mask of productivity finally falls. And many realize they don't know who they are without it. For years you silenced your shadow, the part of you that longed for freedom, art, rest, passion. Now she's the only one left in the room. Inner fragmentation is the cost of long-term suppression. Every time you chose duty over desire, a part of you fractured. You became an expert in meetings, but forgot how to listen to your own silence. You built careers, but lost your ability to feel. You became dependable but numb. And now in retirement, all that unprocessed identity rises like a tide. But instead of peace, it brings disorientation. And the cruelest part? When there's finally time, there's no more compass. The routines that once structured your life are gone. But without inner purpose, free time becomes a prison. As Gabor Mate reminds us, our deepest addiction isn't to substances, it's to productivity. And when we stop producing, the withdrawal hits. Not in the body, but in the soul. Retirement isn't the end of work. It's the beginning of the reckoning. The promise was seductive. One day you'll have time to travel, to rest, to finally live. But no one told you. Time without presence is just empty space. Retirement doesn't equal freedom. It reveals how little freedom you ever had. After a lifetime of obedience, your mind doesn't know what to do with silence. Your body doesn't trust stillness, and your soul, long neglected, no longer knows how to speak. Retirement was sold to you like a reward. But every reward implies a game, and this game demanded your life. How many sunsets did you miss? How many dreams did you shelve? How many years did you spend waiting? And now that the waiting is over, what's left? A room full of time, but no idea how to fill it without becoming someone again. False freedom takes many shapes. The retiree who becomes obsessed with gardening to avoid inner chaos. The woman who fills every calendar slot with busy to feel useful again. The couple who travels compulsively, not for adventure, but to escape the unbearable stillness of their home. And their relationship. What was once marketed as peace, now feels like an elegant kind of prison. Daniel Kahneman showed us that our choices aren't rational, they're emotional. And that's why so many retire with perfect spreadsheets, but fall apart emotionally, because the spreadsheet never included the soul. The plan never accounted for longing, regret, or identity collapse. And so what you thought would be liberation is just a new form of quiet captivity. True freedom doesn't begin when work ends. It begins when you stop being afraid to truly live. To rebuild, you first have to admit, the plan didn't work. The dream of the perfect retirement must die, so that something real can be born. The break happens the moment you stop waiting for the ideal time to be yourself. When you no longer need permission, a pension, or perfect conditions to finally exist. Authentic reconstruction doesn't begin with a new schedule or financial strategy. It begins with a funeral, for the version of you who only knew how to survive. It begins in silence, in the quiet space where the artist you buried still whispers, where the child you silenced still waits, where the wild, unproductive, soulful version of you still remembers how to feel. Viktor Frankl said that meaning is not something we chase. It arises as a byproduct of living with intention. And intention doesn't retire. It doesn't fade. It only waits to be reclaimed. A meaningful life doesn't start at 65. It begins whenever you decide that presence matters more than progress, that depth matters more than distraction, that your soul is worth listening to now, not later. And yes, it's painful to realize how much time was lost, but it's never too late to return to yourself. Time is not measured in decades, but in intensity. One true moment today can outweigh 1,000 days spent on autopilot. One real choice made with soul can undo years of quiet resignation. Reconstruction isn't glamorous, it's raw, it's humbling, but it's here, in the wreckage of expectations, that something sacred begins to rise. The life you postponed, finally asking to be lived. Maybe you believed that life would begin when everything was handled, when the bills were paid, when the clock finally left you alone. But what if that belief, that patient, quiet hope, is exactly what's been keeping you numb? What if life doesn't start at the finish line, but the moment you stop running? Time off doesn't heal you. Presence does. And presence isn't a destination, it's a choice. It's saying yes to now, without waiting for the perfect version of yourself to arrive. The myth of retirement dies when you realize this. The life you've been deferring isn't a future state, it's a soul state. One that's been calling your name every day you refuse to hear it. And when you finally stop postponing your truth, something profound happens. The weight of lost years becomes wisdom. The stillness becomes sacred, and the fear of aging transforms into the beauty of becoming. Retirement no longer means retreat. It simply becomes one more season in a life lived with soul. Because the ones who truly live don't wait for permission. They reclaim what was theirs all along. You were taught to wait, to endure, to sacrifice, to believe it would all make sense in the end. But what if that end is just another layer of control? A freedom sold to keep you productive until there's nothing left to give? The programming begins early, but it can be broken now. The map below isn't salvation. It's your symbolic interruption. Comment below, "My time is now, not later." Share this with someone still living under this invisible prison. And if you're ready to keep breaking the spell, subscribe now. Life begins the moment you stop waiting for it.